Good morning, welcome and welcome back. I'm so happy that you're here. It is currently March 17th at 9:55 a.m. and we have an exciting day ahead of us. We're going to be living out my dream of being a full-time author and I'm pumped. I'm honestly a little bit tired from a late night dance class I had last night, but I think that this is the perfect day to do this challenge/experiment because I fear if I wasn't doing this today, I would stay in bed all day and get nothing done. So I'm really excited to be doing this with you. To me, being a full-time author does not mean writing 9 to 5 or writing all day. I know that every author's writing routine definitely looks a little bit different. In fact, I think it'd be fun to try some famous authors' writing routines in the future. Sorry, my dog is hitting my tripod, so we're shaking a little bit. But my goal for today is to write for about 4 hours. I think that feels really reasonable, and then that would leave the rest of the day for like admin tasks, whatever else there is to be done in the day. Also just taking breaks, having lunch, that sort of thing. If you work a 9 to 5, you know you're not doing deep work for those entire 8 hours either. Like you have meetings, you're chit-chatting, there's other things happening in the day. So I think 4 hours feels really good to me. I'm going to set a timer. And before we jump in, I want to introduce my project because the last time I did a writing vlog, I was working on a contemporary romance set in the Hudson Valley. I ended up shelving that project and I'm currently working on a YA romantasy project that I am lovingly calling Project Harvest. And I am so excited about this one. I believe I'm about 17 or 18,000 words into it. Actually, let me check because I feel like that's important to know so we can track word count for the day. So current word count is 17,468. And I'm hoping to potentially write 2,000 words today, which I feel like is very reasonable to get done in 4 hours. However, I'm entering a part of the story that I hadn't really plotted out because they are currently journeying to a new location. And originally I thought I was just going to transition from one location to the other. However, I had a few ideas to make this journey really exciting and action-packed. So I'm going to be writing a few chapters of them traveling, and I will need to like pause and brainstorm and potentially outline a few things for this. So if I'm even outlining or researching or brainstorming about the story, I'm going to include that in the 4 hours of like book time. So I don't necessarily need to be typing words for the entire 4 hours. I just need to be working on the project. But anyway, I just want to jump right in and see what we can accomplish today. I'm so excited. So excited. My dream. Okay. Good afternoon. It is now 2:13. I took a massive break. I have to be so honest. My timer is at 2 hours and 45 minutes. I stopped to walk the dog, have lunch, and I edited a couple chapters in the manuscript I'm editing for somebody else right now. So I had a productive little break, but before then I wrote for 40 minutes and I got 853 words written. So while I didn't spend a lot of time actually writing, I got a good amount of words in, I would say, for me personally. Typically the words do not come that quickly for me. I'm normally a very slow writer. I don't know if they were great words, but it was more of an action-packed scene, so I felt like my writing pace was faster because I was just doing a lot of action. There wasn't a lot of interiority or even like a lot of dialogue, but I will go back at a later date and read through that again, probably tomorrow, and make sure the words are actually good. I'll probably fill in some interiority and other things there as well, but I was proud of that. And then my time after that, I spent outlining this next scene, so I feel really ready to knock out a lot more words. I feel like I am going to very swiftly reach my 2,000 word goal. With that being said, I've also decided that I'm going to stop either at the 4 hour mark or I'm going to stop when I reach 2,000 words, whatever happens first. Because if I was actually a full-time author, for me personally, I would do a word count goal every day. I wouldn't do an hour goal. That's probably something that varies person to person, is very preference-based, but I just like the thought of working with words because that is like the output that at the end of the day really matters. Doesn't necessarily matter how many hours I spend on the book, as long as I'm writing the words and they're good words. They have to be good words, but also for the first draft, there just needs to be words also on the page. So that is why I'm going to kind of take that approach. But I'm also very excited for this next scene coming up because it is a moment for the MMC and the FMC to get a bit closer. Things between them have been very professional up until this point, and they are going to be alone at an inn for a little period of time, and I'm excited to write this scene. I've been struggling a little bit with the concept of YA because it's an inn scene and there's only one bed, which is pretty common in fantasy, or romantasy, I should say. I'm just like, oh, you know, how much should I allude to physical attraction in like YA and different things like that? Like, where is the line? Obviously it's going to be no spice because it's YA, but I'm like, I feel like it's okay to like still allude to that attraction, especially if it's upper YA, which I think this will be. So yeah, I'm just kind of like tossing that around. If you have any thoughts on like boundaries and everything with YA, I'd be curious. Let me know in the comments down below. There is one scene where the MMC is like at a bar drinking, but I feel like the moral and the lessons and like the takeaway there is actually really positive. I tried to touch on some common topics that I feel like arise with young adults, like peer pressure and things like that. So I think I've handled that pretty well. But yeah, it's like I keep coming back to like the physical aspect of it where I'm like, ooh, like how much, I don't know, how much should I describe about what he finds attractive about her? Like, what do I say? But anyway, I'm excited. I'm a little bit giddy if you can't tell. So I'm going to get back to work. I will check in with you again in a little bit. And I just need to say thank you because honestly, if it wasn't for you and this accountability, I don't think I would have gotten nearly as much work done today as I have. I think going forward in the future, I'm going to make Tuesdays a day where I don't have as much like deep brain work. So yeah, I would not have done this naturally on this day without your motivation. So thank you for the accountability. It means the world and I'm so glad that you're here. Yeah, let's go back to it. The sun is rapidly setting, if that gives you any indication of what time it is. It is currently 6:25 p.m., which the fact that there's any daylight out right now, hallelujah. I am so happy about that. But I wanted to check in because this day did not go as I planned. Honestly, whatsoever. I have to admit I hit a major wall in the middle of the afternoon after I ate a quite large lunch. And given my already tired state in the large meal, I just absolutely crashed. And I did write some words. I wrote for about 30 minutes and I got to 457 words. So my pace was definitely slowing down a bit. But I want to open up my document here because I want to tell you what my day total was because I am going to be done writing for the day. And I did not write 2,000 words and I did not write for 4 hours today. But I have thoughts on that as soon as I pull up the word count here. Let's see, writing history. I got to 1,310 words. So I have to say, I am very, very proud of that on a day where I was extremely tired, more tired than I felt in quite a bit. And I know that I would not have written those words, that many words without you. So again, I am so thankful. And I've learned a few things over the course of the day. One being, the timer was really tripping me up. It did not work for me mentally. I felt very preoccupied with how much time was passing, and that's not normally the case for me, but I felt like this weird pressure, like a ticking time bomb. I didn't like it. It was distracting, kind of in the same way that I have a really hard time writing large quantities when the camera is on. I'm just very aware of this external thing that's happening while I'm writing. And for me, I feel like I need to be very, very immersed in my writing, and did not necessarily respond well to the pressure of that today. Because I'm literally looking at my writing history on Scrivener, which is so nice that they have this. And on March 14th, I wrote 2,122 words. Sorry, my camera looked like it was doing something weird. Oh, it's running out of memory. 1 second. Okay, I wrote on March 14th, 2,122 words, and I wasn't even trying that hard. It literally just flowed out of me. It flew out of me. I was in the zone. It just came out of me. And it just didn't feel like that today. And I know myself, and I do not do well on little sleep. And so I think that, combined with the external pressure of a timer and my own expectations, just like did not go well. But it went well in the fact that I still wrote so many more words than I otherwise would have. This also was an opportunity for me to reframe what I think of as a full-time writer, because yes, I was tired, and so productivity maybe wasn't on point today. However, when I started to realize that this was stretching myself a little bit too thin, I Googled what an average full-time writer actually writes in a day. And I found an article from the Novelry, and it was really interesting because they posted like several authors' daily word counts, and some of them were quite high, but there were also other authors who only wrote 500 or less words a day. And I think realizing that how long I write, how many words I write, doesn't validate me as a writer, doesn't make me any more or less of a writer. Same for you. You are not defined by your word count. You are not defined by the amount of hours you spend on your writing. As long as you write, you are a writer. And we all have different obligations, whether it's work, school, kids, family, like boyfriend, dog. There are all of these things in our lives that take time, and we only have so much to dedicate towards this craft. And yes, these outputs, how many words we write or how many hours we even spend on it, does not dictate how much of a writer we are. So I think that that's been really eye-opening for me today, especially to realize that there are published authors out there who do not even attempt to write 2,000 words a day. They don't care whether they write 2,000 words a day. So I thought that was interesting. My typical goal per day is 1,000 words, so I hit that. And I think that that is something that I just want to stick with. I want to be consistent. I think consistency is key here. And if I write 1,000 words a day, I still plan to finish this manuscript in May. And that would be a total of 4 months that I'll have been working on this manuscript. So yeah, I learned a lot today. The day did not go as I planned, but I am so glad that you spent this day with me. It was a ton of fun. If you have not already, if you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. If you want to follow along on the journey and just, learn about being a writer together. It is a wild, difficult ride, but also so fun and better with you here. So thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.